It is a birthday. It is an Independence Day for Uganda. Remember, this is at the West Nile television, the Kokoliriko show that comes every Monday to Friday. Today is the Independence Day for Uganda. That is where Uganda marks at the 61st day or year of it being independent. This is from the colonialists, which was really a very, very remarkable day that was marked on the 9th of October 1962. That was by Apollo Milton Obote in his leadership, who by then was a prime minister and really made things very, very well. And that is where we'll say thanks a lot for that remarkable history that has remained in the hands of the Ugandans. And we have lived with it and lived with it for quite a very long period of time. And that's where we start our show from. And also so many events are going to trail on this day. And you remember the national celebrations will be in Kitgum district, that is in northern Uganda, and so many other dignitaries, presidents are sent in congratulation messages and so on. So many of them are coming to Uganda, and that's where the Pearl of Africa is. And this is something everyone is yearning to be and really celebrating it. Wherever you are celebrating it, we say welcome to this show. That is the Kokoliriko show with me, Frederick Damadri. And we'll have so many things talked about in the subsequent hour with our guests. And before we move into so many of the issues to do with independence, remember there are a lot of issues that happened over the weekend, and also we'll be able to highlight on some of them, but also not really stopping at that. There are others that we really want to move on with. And one of the things that happened was the sports that happened so much. We had also teachers. We had so many other events that happened. Remember, teachers have still continued to pester government of the discrimination that has been created by salary disparities. The arts teachers are still pushing forth, and also the primary school teachers. Generally, they describe themselves as scientists because they are the foundation of each and every science subject at primary level. And remember, these teachers in primary schools, they handle all the subjects. They are supposed to handle all of them, and they don't really specialize. And that makes it unique that the teachers are able to really do something beyond that you will be emerging. And that is why they are still pushing for an additional fund, at least making a difference of not really too high. That's what they're pushing for. And two, we had a lot of issues over the weekend, and on 6th, before we came to the weekend, there was the National Delegates Conference that was on Friday. That was for Forum for Democratic Change, and we saw so many issues that came up from that, and so many people were laid off their positions. Talk about the chief whip, okay, that is the same Uganda being removed and so on, and Washaberigwa, all of them were removed. And this new leadership is there, and we'll be seeing what will be really happening. Remember, the Katonga faction is still there, and they are still doing what they had planned to do. So what does this tell to Forum for Democratic Change? And we saw in quotes that Patrick Oboya-Miriat says this is the team that is a bit unified, and we are proud that one of the West Nilers, the former member of parliament for Bonga County, Hassan Kaps Fungaro, has been also fixed, at least in the leadership, and that's where we see at least a regional balance now. This has not been there, and as northern Uganda, people have been crying about some of these things, but we hope this will have an impact in changing the face of Forum for Democratic Change. And the person who has retained his position is still Patrick Oboya-Miriat, who is still there on the lock, and many other people have joined the race, and this was through a transparent way of election, a kind of voting where they used the ballot papers and so on, so many of them, and they were given each person 1 hour to do campaigns and so on, and it was so quite a transparent kind of thing, and that was where the delegates were really satisfied and felt like there was justice done within the party. And that's where we are putting the issues to do with the politics there. And remember yesterday Arsenal won a game at the extra minute, and that's where the excitement came. And this becomes a record winning against Manchester City, which has been really a threat to Arsenal Football Club. Remember, Manu also at the dying minute came out from being crying to at least where the substitutes were able to make something to change the face of the team. I remember this win was after all the all the people who had come to spectate, and also the fans of Manchester United had already left. Maguire came back and really cleaned his name. Instead of scoring in his net, he decided to assist for a goal, and that was where he cleaned his name. Now people are still talking bitterly about Onana. I don't know what kind of fans people want to make about Manchester United. Every player has a nickname now in Manchester United, but we will leave sports there. But also KCCA lost it to Express. That's another local, very trending story. I will be having more of this in the wishful time that our guys talk about. Benson Pastore and Owen will be here to unpack for you some of those stories. But still, those Logora speakers who cannot understand any language, you will also be getting some of these updates in the news bulletin at 9 a.m. and that will be brought to you by Fete Emmanuel. And so many other issues. Are we independent? These are questions that people are asking. Are we not independent? We show a lot of things happening here and there in this country. So many things have happened. One of the justification that we are independent has been the issues to do with the anti-sexual or homosexuality bill that was approved, not with the influence of the foreign countries. And that was where Ugandans saw that they were so independent in doing their things. Amidst all the threats, amidst all the sanctions on the top leadership of the country, people stood on their ground, and really the president came out and said, no, this is where we are not going to take an inch and say we are abiding by the rules or the forces that are coming from elsewhere. And that's where we have that kind of independence being put. But economically, financial, and talk about other aspects of life. Are you as an individual independent? That is the question that is for you. If you have not worked for yourself, if you are still within the poverty line, and that means you are not independent. You are depending on someone, and that's why many times so many presidential initiatives are rolled out, because people are still dependent on the government. Can people be independent? You begin doing certain things. Some of the things that are done by government come by coincidence that you are able to benefit. Can you stand alone and feed your family the whole year without any borrowing? That is where we want to see this kind of transparency and really accountability, and that's where you will justify to your family that you are independent. Much as we are going for these celebrations, the issues of security is still there. We are celebrating it in a style where we don't have COVID, where we don't have Ebola. There's a lot that people need to do. We are going there. Let's protect the children. If Apollo Milton Obote's children, parents did not take care about him, we will not have this independence, because he was the only brilliant Ugandan who stood firm and said, no, we cannot really continue to abide by the rules of the foreign persons or foreigners and so on, in the interference every time with our cultural activities, with our traditional ways of life and so on. That's why at least sometimes you see kingdoms here, chiefdoms here, you see the government also the other side. They have given the kind of life you want to live in the country, you can live it. But as long as you are abiding by the rules of the country, and why I'm sticking so hard that we should be really safeguarding our children is the next generation we have that will be in leadership are the children that we have. So as children go for these celebrations, I know schools have prepared a lot of music, dance and so on. Let's make sure that the issues of traffic is not interfering with the way we celebrate the thing, and also the insecurities. People will be leaving their homes. What you leave at home, please make sure that you have a very good lock at your door. But also it is very important for some of the people to be at home there. You move, others move out, others come and change the others. It's so important. Once you lose something that you have already got, it is so quite painful that you will not even get it at ease to replace what you had already lost. That is very, very important. We need to follow up some of those rules. Police has been warning people about the issues of hooliganism around some of these kind of things. There are some people who just want to disturb the peace of others. When celebrations are going on, there are others who come there with ill intention to do other dubious activities that are not there to really make people excited, but people really feel like we are not celebrating, which is not good. We should all be happy. We should all be really people who can really deliver good messages to their colleagues and really do what is needful, other than really coming to really same people in an event, do what. When we come for celebrations, I've seen that most times it is a point of conflict for people who have been hiding when they were haunting others in leadership. You come and frustrate a leader at an event just like that. I've seen this too common in West Nile. I don't know why, but we need to create that harmonious way of living. As long as you are a human being, you will, in one way or the other, step on someone, but you need to know how to apologize. But if you don't know how to apologize, expect those kind of things to come and happen with you. So it is very important that we preach harmony than defiance, okay? It's very, very important. If you don't know how to really say I'm sorry, please beg low and bend low and make sure that the words that are coming from your mouth or your lips are very sweet to your colleague, and that is very important. Remember, there are also so many issues that happened over the weekend. We're not really missing some of these. One of these is the issues of economic transformation. There were so many government officials who were arrested of embezzling the PDM funds. There are people who are there just to divert these funds. From the onset of the recruitment, you have seen so many people complaining about the aspects of some of these leaders in office who are going there to cheat the community members in terms of asking for money for facilitation, in terms of even giving people little money other than the 1 million. If the money 1 million is not there, please just tell people the money is not 1 million. We have here in our caucus this much, and what we are going to do is sign for this money which is there available, but not really making people to sign for 1 million and they end up getting 400,000, 500 and so on. It is quite embarrassing, and that's one aspect of corruption that we need to fight as leaders, as also community members. It is very important that we work transparently and tell people the truth, okay? If you don't have something, tell people I don't have. If you have, tell people this is the one I have and this is how much we are receiving or we are budgeting. It will be very important that people will be able to understand some of these things, and the operations that come will be also able to really do or appreciate the little that you have given to them. Otherwise, you are bound to face the law because you have not told people the right thing, but also you have taken your own interest in serving public interest. You see that when you mix those two, you will not really perfect in your work. That is very important, and following it is very critical. Otherwise, the issues, the fight against corruption now starts from the community level. Now, instead of looking at who is in the office, now it is who is that one delivering. Because many times we have so many people who are in between, doing all those kind of assessments or assists, giving those assists to deliver services. We have extension workers, we have the people who are there in the districts who move to the communities, especially the community services department that is in touch with the community. So many of the things really happen there. So that is one thing we need to follow keenly. But also, as a leader, you need to not be shamed publicly just by arresting you and so on. You have your salary. There are sometimes some of these programs come. When they come, they have that operational funds that are given. Operational funds are those to facilitate you fuel allowance and so on. All those things come. But what is that big thing you want from the community? Those small monies that you collect and you want to cost your 1-point-something million or 5 million that you are getting as salary, just because you cannot even stop salivating from the little that is going to the community members to transform them. That is very important, and if we cannot desist from that kind of thing, it will really continue to affect our programming and also performance of some of these projects. And that's why people have forgotten about the NUSAVs, the Itandikwas and so on. Even operational wealth creation is no longer really seen as a big venture to relieve people from poverty, because people were given seedlings, people were given animals, but you cannot find anywhere where the bones of these animals are, where the fruits of these seeds are. So how do you trace the performance of such kind of programs when the people who have been given have not been adequately prepared, but also the breeds you're bringing are they really climate friendly? Okay, those are some of the things, because many times I saw one of the partners was bringing goats that are producing milk, okay, goats that are producing milk, and they were taken to one of the districts in this region, and the leadership was telling the people, actually the partner, that these goats, for us in Lugbara culture, we don't drink goat's milk. And once they see you milking a goat, you look like a wizard. You see that? Those kind of things come because you have not changed the mind of the people. You have not told the beneficiaries, this is the kind of thing we are going to bring for you. Is it something that is okay with you? But also looking at the cultural perspective, what are the things that are there? Is it something that everyone would believe in? And that's why in the churches, they repeat the same verses year in, year out. They want to change the minds of the people. But now, how different is it for you as the partners or government to stress hard and tell people this is what we are going to bring for you, and this is how you are supposed to do it? Preparing people early for these projects is very important for them to really accept this kind of developments in their areas. But also talking about the issues of climate, assessing the climate is very important, because now we have a lot of diseases for plants and also animals, and there are so many. We have so many of this that really threaten the lives of actually the progress of agriculture, driving it to commercial agriculture and also the economic growth of this country. And that's why the country is growing very at a slow pace. If we can fight corruption in both angles, from the community perspective, and also the leadership in government, but also the civil society teaming up together, will be able to move very far. But also looking at the aspect of the mindset. Mindset has been really one thing that I enjoyed in the Paris Development Model structures, but little has been done in terms of really disseminating information about these development programs. Mindset change is very critical. Even if you have the money and you want to give to people, you need to train the people on how, for me, if I have decided to take poultry as my project, I should be trained on how to handle poultry and so on for quite like 2 or 3 months, so that once I start that project, I should be able to really do everything that is geared towards getting something from whatever project I'm going to invest in. Because government is dumping a lot of billions to the communities, but we have not seen the profits of this. That's because we are not taking a stride in changing the minds of the people. But also people who are doing apiary. People think that for you to do beekeeping, you only need the beehives and take them to the forest, which is very wrong. Very, very wrong. And we need to train people. That's why I'm saying before we had, we took a stand to really take this money to people, we would have first trained the people. And that's why you see that the beneficiaries are not even changing. They are not even doing anything. They are borrowing more loans on top of these monies that are being given to them. So it is very, very important to do really trainings. Again, if I was in one of these big positions in the government, I would have stopped the process of distributing money, but I will really venture into training the people first in the projects that they are undertaking, but also now making sure that the money goes in the third phase instead of giving money first. Okay, it is something that is of interest. Okay, before you set a pace, you need to start from just like the way a child grows, starts from crawling, actually starts to learn sitting, crawling, and those things, and then starting to pronounce some of the words that the mothers are saying and so on. But also there are some sub-fathers who are now training their children even more than the wives. So it is very important that we take that aspect of mindset change for us to move very far. Because Uganda, from being independent, we don't want it to go back to be dependent on one of the nations or continents. Because if we are still dreaming of going for loans, it will not really take us so far. Yesterday we had the presidential address, and so many issues came out from that address. And remember, the issues to do with wetland encroachment has been the debate that has been really roaming around. And now the president has ordered for evictions immediately. Evictions to be really done, but also people who are able to establish hotels and so on around these cool zones. They should be able to plant grasses and look at the environment so that there is no soil erosion, siltation. These kind of things should not happen, and that's what he was stressing. For hotels, it's okay, they can establish them, but they should be really making sure that the environment around the basins of these rivers and so on is very, very safe. And the hotel should be away from the buffer zones. And that's one thing he stressed very, very hard. But also looking at people who are getting certificates erroneously from some of the people who are in the technical wing, talk about the fiscal planning units of these local governments. Those certificates have been cancelled. You will not go in anywhere really petition this, because you are tampering with the ecosystem that we have, and this is the only treasure we have, we cherish and so on. in this natural kind of things, and that's why that's how the president was stressing hard about that. And the usual security issues are still featuring in his address, but also talking about the history, how Uganda really started and to be independent, but also how his regime has been able to transform the nation from where it has been to where it is, and described Idi Amin's regime as a dictatorship kind of regime that was really of energy, physique, and so on. There was no intelligence used in it, but a lot of force was used on the subjects. The subjects are the citizens, and that to him was not really right. And those are some of the words of the president. But also looking at the socio-economic transformation, he warned a lot of leaders about sabotaging these programs that he's rolling out for the benefit of the people. But also talking about the issues to do with Independence Day. He wished everyone happy Independence Day. Let's take a break. We'll be coming back to discuss a lot of things to do with Uganda being independent. What does it mean to you as a citizen, but also how far have we achieved in this 61 years of being independent? How far have we moved? What is it that we have put as a nation to stand alone, instead of every time depending on the loans from the foreign countries, instead of World Bank threatening us that, yeah, I'm not going to give you money? What else can we do as local, as a nation, being part of Africa? What can we sow out that we'll be able to depend on? Let's take a break. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. The passion you've been waiting for!
It's Yunus Junior Santamu!
It's our league, our football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Fukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times.
The Star Times UPL. Our league, go for it.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that commercial break. Is it true? Is it true? That's what we're asking you. And as a viewer, you should be able to really come to the inbox and follow this show on the Kokoliriko. Okay, so many channels that we have. And the YouTube is very, very active. So it is the only easiest one that you can really text to us and also really share with us. And we have West Nile TV WhatsApp group. If you are in that WhatsApp group, you should be able to share with us the comments that you think, whether we are independent or we are still dependent. Okay, that is very, very important. If you are able to share that, we'll be glad and we will be able to project it here. Uganda has seen a lot of transformation in terms of socio-economic development. Remember, when Uganda became independent, the economic economic growth was at 0%. Okay, And that is what the leaders were trying to build around. What should we do in order to really move away from that? That economic growth at zero means that every activity in the country was facilitated by foreigners. And when Uganda became independent, this economic growth started increasing. Up to Idi Amin's regime, that's where we started seeing some of the light coming to this country. And this nation began thriving when the Indians, the Asians came into the country. They started showing people how to do business, and also how people could really venture into investments. And that's where we started seeing a lot of light. We saw a good number of presidents coming, and others staying days, others staying years, others staying hours. And that is the kind of transformation we used to see, transition between presidents. And we have had more than 6 presidents as a country, but also the one that has stabilized and stayed in power for the biggest number of years is the one for the National Resistance Movement. The current leadership of NRIM, that is led by His Excellency Yoweri Museveni Kaguta, and under his leadership we have seen the economic growth really reaching up to now 5.5%. And what are the things that we have seen that have really transformed under this legacy? One of the things is the development of the airports, but also talking about the tourism sites that have become really well marketed at international level. And that's why Uganda is getting 1.35 billion Ugandan, 1.35 billion US dollars annually, and this is now the major earning for Uganda. So looking at all these kind of developments, you have other issues that locally the government has seen a lot of changes in terms of elevating people from poverty. Remember, northern Uganda was the one behind, followed by eastern Uganda, and most of the issues around these regions have been the issues of insurgencies, of rebel attacks, the issues to do with uncoordinated leaders. Remember the issues of the cultural leadership being at some of these provinces. Remember, West Nile was not part of Uganda, not until it became in 1914 that we had this region which was called West Nile province. By that time, and it became West Nile sub-region in northern Uganda. Now we are celebrating also as West Nile. We are just a few years, 100 and something years to Uganda, and we became part of Uganda. And after becoming part of Uganda, now that we have a lot of developments, and that's why some of these sub-regions were still lagging behind. And what has government done to this? We show the northern the Nuri projects and so many other projects, northern Uganda development projects, but also we have these other projects that are targeting the underdeveloped sub-regions. Talk about the NUSAF, talk about the other regions, the other programs that are targeting other, the whole country. Talk about the WEP, the youth livelihood, the persons with disability grants. There are 2 types of grants that they have there, but also you have the special grants that are targeting also the persons with disabilities. And there are so many other things that have really given a leverage for Uganda to move far. And this is where really strategically NRM has been trying to push to the development of the nation, and really looking at the regional balances. What can we bring forth? The issues of electricity has become a shock that has been really hitting the Western region. And also talking about Chol, Lango and Chol sub-regions, those are still also facing issues to do with electricity disconnections. The intermediate power supply. Remember, just yesterday, Sunday, there was really havoc. People were really quarreling over the rural kind of electricity. They say it is a rural because the agency that is providing supply of electricity is also called the Western Rural Electrification Company, and they are doing things in a rural way. And that's where really people are saying that we need to advocate for the move to the national grid. Okay, as we push to move to the national grid, what is it that we have set aside as the people to really move forward? We have seen a lot of electricity poles that have been put by government, and some of them are already having wires, others have not. And what is remaining is what we want to see as whether the power is already in the hands of the people, or are people really consuming it. And that's where the issues of income increase. Okay, the income of the people increase in a very faster speed. That's where people want to see those kind of young people venturing into saloons, venturing into other social ways of life of earning, and also really those little businesses. Saloon have hairdressing, and talk about also the issues of other businesses. People who are selling music, okay, they also need power. People who are in restaurants, hotels, and so on, they need electricity. The other businesses, okay, there are so many, you cannot categorize all of them, but they all need businesses. When power goes off, go to a real city, town here, even Nebi, Koboko, go to these towns, you generators, all those noises come, and that is the impact of power not being stable. But also looking at the environmental impact, you know, electricity is at least environmentally friendly. Once people move to decide cooking using those kind of power which is constant and so on, it will take long, or it will be a very good move in saving the environment. Talk about the use of wood fuel, charcoal, and firewood, and so on. That is really a big way of life for people who want to venture into cooking. And you know, every day you have to eat. Where is the food coming from? From the 3 stones, from maybe the ovens, and also some people use those. There are not much use of briquettes in this region. So it is very important that we expedite the connection of this region to electricity for people to really start doing serious businesses, but also mitigate the environmental impacts caused by these generators that are producing a lot of fumes. Okay, there's a lot of gas that comes out, okay, from these generators, and it is not friendly to human consumption, but also to the atmosphere. It is not really so good. And talking about other aspects, we have so many programs that have been coming to the people. Talk about the Agriculture Cluster Development Program. This is ending by this year. So by September, it was the last day, the last month. So we hope there has been adjustment. If not, that means people are going to lose out in this program. Under this program, there were interests by government to put value addition facilities, but also the deployment of the e-voter system to do supplies for farmers was one of the things that really increased the corruption and also made farmers lose interest in the program. Currently, if you go to Nebi district, one farmer group that benefited from under this program is still demanding for 389 million Ugandan shillings from the suppliers who received the monies under the e-voter system, but they have not delivered the items, the equipments, the inputs, okay? This is one of the frustrating things, and that's where we think government has really done its part in elevating people from poverty, but there's a lot that needs to be done in order to really making sure that the attempts to elevate people from poverty is a success. For us to really make sure that it is a success, we need to follow up with the implementation strategies. If we are saying that people should make orders through internet, okay? Talk about maybe WhatsApp groups that have been created for them. After making the order, is it delivered, okay? Is it delivered? Because people first have to pay before the supplies are made. But after now making payments, why is it that supplies delay or sometimes wrong inputs are given to farmers? And that's where we have challenges. And this program under this was looking at farmers producing raw materials from their own gardens, but also really making sure that the value is added. The value is added through the value addition facilities that have been constructed across the country. Different regions have different crops that they're dealing in, and there are some of the regions that have ventured into banana, especially the central and western. Talk about northern Uganda entirely, they are venturing into rice, cassava, gnut, and so many other things. Gnut is groundnut. Somebody will ask, what is gnut? And really, I want to clear that is groundnuts. And so many people had ventured into this. They wanted to really progress very further. And there were so many inputs that were ordered from here in Western region. And many people did not receive these supplies. And that has rendered all these value addition facilities redundant. Majority of them are now in a bushy environment. If you look at, if you move to Marasa district, go to all over sub-county, you will find one of the value addition facilities lying idle. And this was there. Now, if you look at the locks that have been put at the gate, you will clearly see that the lock has rusted. Even now, the gate is rusting. That means there's no one entering that place, and no activity is taking place. And that is one key. Okay, that is one of the things that we will see, that at 61 years, we have not really attained anything in terms of improving the lives of the people, because all the government programs that have been rolled are not really benefiting or reaching the targeted persons. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be answering in a guest, and we'll talk about some of the nitty-gritties and what needs to be done. What have we achieved in the 61 years? What is still lacking? How do we move forward with developments? Let's take a break.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
We are the passion you've been waiting for!
It's Yunus Junior Santamu.
It's our league, our football, our boys, our style. Start Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Kukume.
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times.
The Star Times UPL. Our league, go for it.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
The passion you've been waiting for!
It's Yunus Junior Santamu!
It's our league, our football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Kukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times.
The Star Times UPL. Our league, go for it.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that commercial break. Earlier on, I told you that we have really come from afar, that we are now at 61 years as a nation. But the question remains, are you as an individual independent? Is the country independent? Are the nationals independent? We might talk about the nation being independent, but also you realize that the nationals are not independent. And those are some of the things. Economically, social, and also spiritual, talk about other aspects of life. The independence now we're talking about is in terms of development, in terms of achieving the level that we really aspire as a nation to really reach at that point. And currently, I'm joined by Fen Tribe, who is from the civil society wing, and we'll be discussing these kind of issues with him, and really looking at where Uganda was and currently where we are. Are we progressing well? Is there any challenge? What do we need to do as a nation, but also really to attain a very good development, a balanced one from all corners of this country? What needs to be done? What is still lacking? And that's where we're really moving into. Fen, you're most welcome to West Nile TV studios.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
Okay, that is him, and I want to usher him in with this little kind of question. And Fen, understanding the history of Uganda from the colonialists, when we became independent, and what are the things that you saw that really changed and really could prove that this country is independent?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think from colonialism, if you track what has been happening, first and foremost, during colonial era, we used not to make our own decisions within the country. You remember some of the issues we were discussing in Lancaster, some of the issues where the whites were in charge. If you look at Uganda police, if you look at the history of Uganda police force, actually, it is called Uganda Police Force. Literally, it was a creation of the whites. You remember certain tribes were supposed to be in Uganda Police because you are supposed to enforce certain things. You look at our penal code, most of the laws that you see there were during that era. Of course, some of them of late we are talking about the issues of being idle and disorderly, that now pronouncements are being made about them. There are many things that were there during those eras. But by and large, we also, since the colonialists were in charge of us, we lost a lot of things. First and foremost, the issue of dignity, the issue of resources, the issues of so many things that we lost. But now again, when we got independence around 1962, we solidly now, as a country, as natives in this particular country, we now became in charge. Our parliament was there, we became in charge, I think around 63. That was the time when we fully now had our leaders. Because prior to that, we used to have a head of state who was the Queen, actually, of England. You imagine, Uganda is here, but you have a head of state from somewhere else. And then from ours, we operate. So that we now have our own parliament, we have our own head of state, we have the citizens participate in the elections. But however, there are many things that needs to be looked at when we talk about all these things. Now that we are here as a nation, by the way, Uganda is comprised of so many nations. When I talk about nations, many people are just merged together. We are trying to make sure that we foster unity among so many people. Of course, if you look at different parts of this country, we are not only from one community or one tribe. We are put of so many nations together that will form this country called Uganda. Now, if you look at the way sometimes things are happening, the citizens, the other time I was discussing with some leaders that I see government moving towards teaching patriotism, people to love this country. It is good to teach people how to love the country. But again, the love needs to come organically by itself. How does it come about? It comes when people are getting the services that needed to get, the public goods. It comes when the decision making is respected. It comes when opportunities are balanced, when people feel this is their country, that opportunities are going to, they are going to get opportunities regardless of where they come from, regardless of the education background. For as long as they qualify that they are going to get, regardless of their status in terms of wealth, in terms of other things. So I think that is where we need to go. But if you look at it currently in the country, we have a lot of challenges that we need to deal with. First and foremost, people always rubbish the issue of nepotism. Nepotism is real. That if you are not from a certain, maybe, circles, the opportunities, the level of, for you to get opportunities is not equal to the other one who are from certain circle. So that's what we need to deal with. We look at the issues of corruption. The corruption has become huge. A lot of resources are being lost. The tune of 10 trillion, that is not my research. That was done by Inspectorate of Government. Yes. 10 trillion, that is a lot of money. If you go to our health facilities, we have a challenge of people being diagnosed, but they cannot sometimes get some of the treatment that they need within. You may go there and get very minimal basic, but someone who is poor is going to face a lot of challenges. We have the issues of deteriorating standards of education. I can assure you, go to villages. The reason as to why people in the villages, the children in the villages perform poorly, it is not because they are dull. It is because certain things are not done in the right way. We have migrated to what is called thematic curriculum. But in that thematic curriculum, In urban centers, people continue with the normal programming of doing things, teaching children in English from P1, even nursery, up to the end. And these children sit in UNEP in English. Now, for those of us who started from village, then we used to be taught everything. But now, our followers are being taught in vernacular. Now, up to senior 4, P4, and then from P4, they have to spend 2 years, actually use 3 years, to now learn how to speak English and eventually sit for their UNEP. I can assure you, up to now, there are some P7 candidates who do not understand questions in English because of that background. Now, even look at the way they are taught, but go to the infrastructure in the schools. I think we need to do a lot from there. Now, if you put all this together, it will now create whether someone needs to love his country or not. Because the people will have perception that this country probably belongs to few people who are having opportunities to get better services than them. Now, these are things that needs to be dealt with, the country needs to deal with. However, there are progresses that have been registered. First, in areas of
maybe before we go to the progresses in terms of achievements and so on, I want to really put this. Somebody wants to understand that when we were still under the leadership of the Queen of England, somebody managing a nation from somewhere, what were the implications of this to Uganda generally by then?
The implications were so many. One, first and foremost, you are not going to make absolute decisions about how you need to be governed. The decisions have to come from somewhere. But also, two, you have a challenge of, I talked about the issue of dignity. You know, the moment someone from somewhere make decision about you, and then you are supposed to implement it without your participation, that again is a challenge where you need to deal with. Now, you have the issues of resources. By the way, we lost some bit of resources from all these things of colonialism. Now, these are things that we need to look at and see how to actually, these are things that we are dealing with, and they were not something, they were not dignifying in any way, they were not things which were good. So the fact that we were called colonialists, it means other people were in charge of us. Absolutely, they were in charge of us. They will make us do what they want us to do. Whether we like it or not, we shall do them. They will make absolute actual contribution, however little they want to make it. That is their opinion. I mean, that is their decision to make it. They will make it. If they want to make it in a bigger way, that is it. But also, too, most of the investments which were done then were actually to facilitate the interests of those people, the colonialists, not actual our interests. Just like someone is paving a road, is actually doing a road for the person to transport something, to do business, which business is of the person's interest, not our interest. So I think that those are the things we look at. But as of now, we can make decisions. We can say, okay, these are things we need to do A, B, C, D. Much as we have challenges in them, those are our own issues. We are the people in charge of it. So we have absolute control over them. Whether to correct them or not, that entirely rests with the citizens of Uganda as of now. Okay,
maybe from that point where we are governed by the Queen of England, and now later in 1962, we got independence. What was that transition like? And people are still understanding that and relating it to what we're practicing now. The African countries do not really transit of power just in a peaceful way that was done in that, maybe from that time we were getting independence. Relating all that situation with the current kind of elections that we have, and also talking about the issues to do with transition. How do we really, as nations, what has gone wrong in terms of making sure that people are able to get the real transition in a rightful way, other than really talking about the issues of others going for petitions, even if it is a democratic process, talking about elections. No one in this African country, in any of these countries, has said he is satisfied of the results. So how do you think basically we should be able to amend some of the situations that we have found ourselves into but also really making sure that the transition is like the way we got independence.
Now, thank you very much. You see, if you look at post-independence governance, look at the countries, different countries, there are some countries that have made progresses. They have made progress in terms of how they do their things. For example, you go to Tanzania here, much as they have their problem, they could be having some internal challenges that they have, but they have made progress in terms of transition from one person to another, peacefully, by the way. If you look at the countries like Uganda, midway, they had challenges. But also, that is one thing I also want you to understand is, even after independence, the colonial agents kept interfering in our internal affairs. That's why other people think it is up to date, that there's still some bit of interference. That's why if you look at countries like Namibia, up to now, they still believe that the French needs to leave. You get that? They still think they have a hand in them. Not only in Namibia, but many of, if you look at the neighboring countries in that area, as of now, they have a challenge with their colonial masters, even to date. Now, we had good leaders that came up after independence. For example, you look at in Congo, Patrice Lumumba, you remember after when Congo got independence, he was one person who believed that Africa needed to be free, and then we needed to be in charge of everything, including our resources, including decision making. Now, the challenge was whoever was not pro the colonialists, you will definitely either get eliminated or you'll be overthrown. Now, it happened in so many countries. Now, that also itself created fear in some of the leaders within the African continent. But again, now coming to our own country, in Uganda. In Uganda, what is true is that I think we did not learn a lot. We're not ready when we were transiting from doing that transition from the colonialists to us. You remember after Obote being a prime minister, there was a conflict between, even within Ugandans, the Buganda question, up to the time of around 1966. So many things happened in between. Uganda had never settled. Little work which was done by Obote putting this hospital you see in those many of the parts of the country, for example, the Kuru Hospital and other hospitals and so forth that they put within those short time, there were a lot of challenges that were also governance issues that came up. That's why you talk about the issues of Buganda crisis. That's why you talk about the issue of pigeonhole constitution, which were done and so forth. A lot of crises were happening within the period. Now transiting to Amini's time, transiting to Obote too. You remember even there were pronouncements that in 1980, the election which was rigged at that time was actually the most massive which was rigged, because none of your actually leaders from West Nile managed to, most of them, those who were DP, I think were not nominated. Most of them were blocked. So the election that was rigged that time, there are people who believe that it was very massive in a way that it could not guarantee credible elections. So I think we have not been learning from our mistakes. I can assure you, you cannot talk about stability of any country when you don't see smooth transition of power from one place to another. You can talk about peace, which will exist temporarily, but it does not guarantee stability. That's why even when people are making investment decisions in every country, they look at the rate at which they look at actually the issues of stability. Is the country stable? What about when elections are conducted? Do you think elections will be peaceful? Do you think there will be a smooth transition of power, peaceful transition of power? Now, if you see during elections, the people who are supposed to invest their money take away their money, or you see people moving away from the country, then people are not yet certain as to what will happen after elections. Maybe probably people are anticipating maybe there could be post-election violence. Maybe people think probably they are not sure who is going to come in power, and if the person comes, what will happen. So those are things that people didn't know. Now, I think as a country, what we needed to do is, if you really believe in the democracy that we think we have, and we think that the way the colonial masters were ruling us was not fair, and then we need to practice what we claim to be doing. We need to make sure that the processes that we adopt are credible, the processes we adopt are participatory. The processes that we adopt, we respect them. So that's how we can govern our country and then move smoothly into the kind of the democracy that we want. But otherwise, I'm always against this saying that for ours is an African democracy. No, if it is an African democracy, you need to totally design it in another way. You don't need to adopt it from other people, and then you just want to modify it to fit your own interests. I think that one to me doesn't work. Yes.
Okay, looking at all that kind of democracy that we have started talking after independence, you remember there were so many issues that happened before that. From that dictatorship kind of management of the country by the Queen of England, we have seen it done by our own people now. And from this, what have we achieved? After getting independence, what have we achieved and how far have we gone?
I think after independence, we registered some progress. I was telling you that since we got independence, a lot of investments have been done. For example, we have a lot of investments in health. Most of these health facilities have been put. The quality will be something that we can debate. But there has been infrastructure that has been put in place. We have hospitals that have been put in place in so many areas, right from Obote's government up to date. A lot of investments has been put. But again, we talk about the issue of infrastructure, the roads. Much as we have challenges with the roads, but something has been put. Some roads have been constructed. For example, the road from here to Kampala, it has been done. But the quality as of now is something that we can debate. For example, now from Olio to Pakwach, even up to the road really is getting worn. But I think there are efforts to put something there. But again, a lot of it has not yet been done. I think that's why we need to put emphasis. We have roads from that connect districts. I think we need to have a lot of investments which should be done there. Now we also have investments in education. Much as I was talking about the quality, but literacy rate generally has increased. Many people have educated. The issue of job is something that we can debate, can talk about. Also with the issue of peace. I want to talk about peace. I think relatively, from now the NRM government we see, I think relatively there has been relative peace in the country. People can move wherever they want to move. The roadblocks are minimal. By the way, if you move to other countries, you will still get roadblocks.
So that's our neighbor.
Yes. So in Uganda, you can travel from one place to another without any fear of being stopped because of roadblocks and so forth. I think those are some of the progress that have been registered. Now the issue we need to work out is the issue of quality. For example, if we are talking about quality of education, we need to work out that. If you look at the issues of job creation, we need to, in other countries, actually governments are judged because of the quality of, the creation of jobs. But for us here, I see citizens don't take it seriously. They go for other things and so forth. But in other countries, how many jobs have we created this year? How many jobs have we created in your term? Those are the things that we need to look at. Unfortunately, in our country here, people think the jobs must be created by government. And actually, government believe that they can create all the jobs, which is not true. What is true is the government can aid people to create jobs. What you just need to do is you work with private sector. You need to make sure that the conditions are conducive for private sector to thrive, so that private sector is the one creating jobs for people. It's only private sector, by the way, that can accommodate a lot of people, not government. Government jobs are not so, public jobs, let me say, public employment in public sector is not so much. Now, it is only the private sector that can employ a lot of people. So what needed to be done is the government putting all the conducive environment for private sector to thrive. How do you do that? For example, in Western, we do not have power. So the job creation in Western, I can assure you, is hampered with because of the issue of power. Electricity, yes. We need to, industrial reliable electricity needs to be put in place. You need to talk about the issues of infrastructure, the road networks, because if people are going to produce a lot of goods, they need to transport these things into what? Into market. Get that? So you need to work out the issue of roads. The issue of money, lending money. Borrowing money is very expensive in this country. How do you do that? You need to work on the issue of how can we bring the interest rate down. You get that? Then if people borrow money and the money is very expensive, I can assure you there is no magic that people are going to prosper. People are going to lose businesses. People are going to be, you will see many businesses being closed and auctioned. What about the issue of taxes? Now, the taxes, the problem that African people believe is that if you tax people, you can raise revenue for development. That is true. But again, if you overtax, you are going to kill so many businesses. You are going to actually create. You are going to collect a lot of, very little taxes. Why? Because if you like, for example, you create so many opportunities. Many people are doing business. You can then get a lot of taxes through those people. But if fewer people are paying taxes, whatever you do, I think it is like over milking a cow that you don't feed. Definitely, it is going to bring challenges. Many people, as of now, the businesses are suffocating because of some of the taxes, which actually, to me, are way beyond that. People are overpaying taxes, by the way. Mm-hmm. So I think that needs to be looked at. And yet, our GDP tax ratio is still, I think, around 13%. Mm-hmm. That even explains why we are not developing. Unless we increase that to 18%, we are not going to develop the way we look at it. Now, we need to expand that. So I think, to me, we can have that conversation so that we see where we take this country.
Okay, that is it. That is it from the Civil Society Network, and that is Fen Tribe, who is discussing with me Uganda at 61. What have we done? What have we not achieved? How do we progress as a nation? And remember, it is very, very important for us to evaluate ourselves, because this day is not there to only go and beat drums as learners move with drums, and then scouts, they are also parading and so on, and then we call it a day. We need to deliberate on to what achievements were made, what strides or what challenges are we facing, how do we really bring up some of the gaps, and really together get a joint decision to make on the loopholes that we need to bridge in order to really make this nation to stand alone. Remember, the bodies that have been giving us loans are now saying, no, we are not going to give you, especially World Bank. They talked bitter about it just because we took an independent stride of saying we don't want homosexuality in our country, and that's where I think we have exercised independence as a nation together. And also looking at some of these things, these loans, are they really very important now, and what can we do without them? Even if we want to service the ones that we had already picked, how do we service them without really overtaxing the nationals? And that is very, very important. And this brings me to the question many people have been asking: Are we enjoying the economic freedom? Okay, are we enjoying the economic freedom? And I want to pose this same question to you: Is it that we are independent? If we are independent, is the economic freedom is there? Because basically everything in this country relies on the economic activities that we do, not necessarily the cultural aspect, not necessarily talking about the other issues and so on, but economically, are we doing well as nationals in this country?
Yeah, thank you. Let me start actually by addressing the question of debt. You know, the issue of debt is not bad as per se. Most of the countries, I think apart from very few countries that may not be having a lot of debt, people have debt. Most of the countries are run doing that. For example, as a matter of fact, the United States of America, by the way, has the highest debt in this world. But for them, of course, you know, they can always print their federal bank can always print a lot of dollars to make sure they manage that. And now, the issue of debt is it becomes a problem when it is not properly invested. That you can get gains to pay it back. Because, for example, if you get a loan, yet you are not prepared to get that loan, whether like it or not, you are going to squander that loan. If we, as a country, we get loans and then we invest them very well. For example, if we are investing them in infrastructure, the infrastructure that we're investing in is in turn is going to generate, it is going to actually spur economic development that can generate this money, and then that money can be paid. Now, if you have not been investing it well, and then we lose some of it in corruption, we lose some of it in other things, and then that's where the challenge becomes real. For example, people are talking about the issue of Lomboa Hospital. All of us know a lot of money was put there, but again, if you look at the gains according to the report we are getting from members of parliament, it is something that it's terrible. We even regret why you invest a lot of money in there. If you look at many other infrastructure developments where we even borrowed money to do certain things, and they are not properly done, that's where the challenge is. Now, whether we're economically independent or not, the citizens. Now, it also explains to you what is it that people can do that can generate for them economic activity. I can assure you the reason as to why people are poor is not because people don't have cash. There are many other things that, if they're put together, it can actually make people to get something that can improve their livelihood. For example, I was telling you about the issue of power. If you had the power in West Nile, and then there are many factories that are created, many industries are working, it means more people will be employed. Actually, people will earn more from the employment and more sustainable than actually them getting cash from elsewhere, or when people are campaigning and handouts are given. For example, if you also, I want to give you another option. If the credit facility for people is cheap, people can access very cheap credit facilities, and then they can invest it in a business. I can assure you it will be the other thing that can make people do more business and then generate economic activity. What about the issue of market? There are many, as of now I talk, in Maracha, there is a lot of sweet potatoes that has been produced. You get that? Now, the question of market is something that all of us are dealing with. How do you connect one market to the other, people from one market to the other? That is now where we need to do. We have our commercial officers in these districts. What do they do? Commercial officers, what normally they do, as of now I talk, I can assure you, commercial officers need to up their game. You find commercial officers sitting in office, sometimes by the before you may go, oh, Paris development model, they will sit there waiting for people to come to them so that they register this VSLN. No, that's not the work of commercial officers. We wanted to see commercial officers going actually to organize investors round table within districts. You need to make sure you connect people into opportunities, because that's why you are here. That's why you are called commercial officers. You are not registrars of any sort. So I think that those are the things that we need to do. Now, we also want to see government in terms of financial literacy. Actually, this is something that commercial officers need to be there. You need to look at what is it that people can do. We have ever adopted something called LED, local economic development, and there's a policy actually in that regard. Now, how far have we gone with the local economic development policy? What is the implementation like? What kind of awareness creation have we done? Now, for example, in Western Nile, if we have zoned that in this area A, this is something that can grow, and in area B, this one can grow. How far have we gone to actually, as a government, to make sure that we promote these things so that people have massive production, and then we look at the issue of market so that people have a sustainable income in their pockets. Now, if we go into that, that's the time we are going to alleviate poverty. But if we are not going to go into that, I think that's the challenge we are going to have. The poverty is going to be rational. In this country, we believe the poverty rate has reduced to around 39%. Is it not true? That's why we think 37%, the PDM we're looking. But if you go to districts, actually, some districts, the poverty could be around 60, even above 60. I can assure you, some of the districts in this country, even in northern Uganda or West Nile, that I need to be specific about. So these are things that we need to be addressed, that the economic factor need to be done. And I can assure you that can be done with the right policy of government. These things don't work in isolation. I always see people saying that, you know, we needed to, it is a personal decision. No, it is not a personal decision. All these things have got an attachment to the policies that the government is going to design. And how they are going to be addressed depends on the policies. Now, if you don't address the question of the policy, I can assure you, any government can create any policy either to make things better or to make things worse. Okay, we will be really talking, putting our last words here. We are out of time, and we are actually past 3 minutes. And we'll be really winding up this discussion. Maybe if you can give us your last remarks about the Independence Day celebrations that we're having today, and also really what you think can be done around all these areas. My last remark is I want to urge, I know people are watching TV are people who are always conscious when it comes to these celebrations. I know also for sure in our trading centers, in our other small towns, villages, the way people sometimes celebrate Independence Day is extreme, where even sometimes we lose lives, which is going to be something that's unfortunate. I think we need to take maximum caution when we are celebrating this. We need to be conscious of our security, we need to be conscious of our security of our property, so that tomorrow there will still be life. Let's prepare for tomorrow to be there. And also as a country, the gains that we have registered in so many areas, I think these are things that we need to appreciate, whether it being in infrastructure, the peace that we have, or it being other things that we have registered positive, where we have positive achievements. I think we need to celebrate those. But also where we have not performed well, I think we need to also appreciate, we own them so that we correct them. We shouldn't just be looking at the other side, ignoring the other side. So I think these are things that we need to balance. We need to make sure that we look at all the sides, and then we see how we can improve where we've not registered a lot of success, that we can take it better. But I'm always against this a comparison that from when this one took place, we were like
from
this.
The bush.
No, we can't do that comparison.
Yes.
Let's if we want to do comparison, let's do it for the best of what we can do, and then we do it in order to arrive at where we think we need to be. Let's not benchmark from the worst point of view, and then we go to the little that we have achieved. We will kill everything.
Okay.
Let's do it for the better, and then we'll make sure that we take the country forward.
All right, that is it from Fenitoy. He's the Chief Executive Officer, Western Nile Civil Society Network, and we have been here deliberating on the achievements and also the gaps that exist, but also during the colonial time, what was there. And that's very, very important for those who do not know the history, and for those who really want to progress well with some of these kind of developments. My name is Frederick Ramadri. Up next, we'll be having the news in Lubarati. Thanks for watching. That is the